What is going on, guys? Welcome back. I would really like some answers from the people over that work on this game, the developers of this game, because this is unequivocally one of the worst programming logics I've ever seen in a sports game. And I mean, I struggled to think of a non NASCAR alternative for this. I think the only thing I can come up with would be you've got a sports team in a winning get in scenario, and they score on the first drive, first possession, and then they just assume the game is over and they put in their backups. And I want to be honest, this is also detailed programming. But to me, it exposes how basic the programming is in this game. I would actually make the case with programming this basic, you really can't replicate the sport properly. So we're starting here, okay? This is actually from NASCAR 101. Okay, this is a page NASCAR made to cater towards what I will define as the ultra casual. That's why you see things like what is NASCAR? The point being, I think the person looking for this information is not the person spending $80 on a NASCAR game. It borderline hinges on a person who's debating whether they want to watch their first race. You can also make the distinction that a person who loves the sport, who knows the sport, would have 100% of this information carry over. Meaning the things you see listed here, like next-gen cars, driver team tracks, all second nature to a fan of the sport. Important to understand. The first prerequisite we see, seemingly the most important focal point, is winning in the regular season to make the playoffs. So just to recap, I know nothing about NASCAR. I can barely spell NASCAR. I go to this page designed for the ultra uninformed, and the first bit of knowledge I've given is that a premium is put on winning a race. So let's take this over to the stream from last night. Let's carry this over. Let's understand this is my 21st full distance NASCAR race, all of which 40 plus hours of live streaming. That's quite a commitment. And this is the photo from the stream, and you can see a couple very important details. First of which, 5 laps are remaining in the race. Second of which, we're running in 4th place. And third of which, we're running short on fuel. We have an undefined amount of fuel needed. Just a splash of fuel is all we need. It's not even enough to quantify half a can, full can, 2 cans. Just a splash. Okay, I'm not going to show the information from the stream after this. I'm just going to show the full screenshot. But 3 laps later, you can see the fuel estimate has not changed. And the 54 car is now on our outside. Okay, first place, second place car, respectively, are already on, or as you can see, bottom left-hand side of your screen, entering pit lane. Following lap, which is 398, we can see the outcome of this is there are just 4 cars on the lead lap, and Ty Gibbs, running in second, is looking to pass us. Now, before I go into what happens, I want to reiterate a few things. First of all, winning means everything in this format. It's the only way to lock yourself into the playoffs, and I'm going to share with you some data that we didn't know before, okay? But the game should certainly be factoring into his logic. Ty Gibbs is the first car out of the playoffs, meaning that old rhetorical, if the playoffs started today, Ty Gibbs is not going to make it. Okay, we also only have 4 races remaining before the playoffs start again. We've ran 21 races. So it goes without saying that Gibbs and his team would look to make the most of this opportunity. So let's see what the game did. First of all, Ty's teammate, Denny Hamlin, you might have heard of him, he elects to pit directly in front of Ty and slows him down. Now, I know some people are going to say, primarily Muppets, that this is nitpicking, right? The game is not going to have logic for teammates getting out of each other's way. It's way too much to ask. Fine. It doesn't change that it happened, though. And all of that becomes a moot point because here we are on lap 399. Ty elects to pit. It's important to understand how baffling this is. Okay? You cannot go more laps down than the race has remaining. And I know someone, more than likely a Muppet, is going to say, well, a green, white, checkered finish would allow that. You don't know anything about NASCAR. Number one, that doesn't happen here. And clearly that is a set of logic way beyond the scope of what we're talking about. Because Ty is putting himself in literally the worst of both worlds. First of all, pitting gives away his chance to win the race. Secondly, because his pit box is after the start-finish line, this creates a scenario where those cars behind him would not have been able to pass him. Again, you can't go further than the race is long. You cannot extend the race beyond the start finish line. So Ty locks himself in on the white flag lap to not be passed by the cars going across the start finish line and passing him again on what would be lap 401. So if Ty had just stayed out, like I did, he likely would have not lost any more positions to cars on the lead lap. But because he pits, because I stay out and I run out of gas exiting turn 2 on the final lap, this means a couple cars did have the opportunity to pass me and get their lap back. But it was very unlikely, even from the beginning, that they were going to pass me on a mile-long track, drive all the way around the track again, even with me running out of gas, and pass me for position. So the game had a pretty simple option for Ty. You either stay out and you run out of gas, trying to win the race, or you finish second. That's it. Pitting should have never even came into the mind of the AI. Even in a world where cars could pass him and his pit was before the start-finish line, there's so many cars a lap down, it shouldn't even be in the thought process of the AI. Ty ends up finishing 5th, and that's what really made this so painful to see, the fact that this was a top 5. And this is what really exposes the game. This was Ty's best run of the season. It was his only top 5. 100% of the time, the team would be gambling and trying to win the race. More so when you know far and away it's the best shot they had. Now, before a Muppet comes in here and tells me that the game is factoring into account all the cars around him in points and what they're doing, the first thing I'm going to do is laugh at that. So many people try to overcome the lack of basic knowledge and logic this game has by proclaiming there's some world of more detailed logic programmed behind it. They want to ignore that the game doesn't have the simple, we need to win the race, in favor of the game running this real-time calculation behind the scenes of who are we racing with in points, and let's try to have a good points day rather than win a race. So, in this situation, we come out, we find Bubba Wallace, car behind Ty in points, 19th, 3 laps down. And I had to go back and forth. I had to review the race. I had to go into the points. This isn't all just handed to me. And that's another point we're going to make. But Bubba wasn't even on the same lap as Ty, even after Ty went a lap down. There was no risk that Bubba was going to win the race. They were on separate laps. You could make the strong case that as it happened, mathematically, Wallace couldn't have even passed Gibbs. So what's the big deal? Why does any of this even matter? Well, it shows us primarily that the cars are just there making laps. They're not aware of their competitors on track. They don't have an understanding of capitalizing on good days they might have or bad days their competitors might have. Nobody is going out with this win at all costs. No one is going out with this, we need to head in front of driver X now. We need to make sure we stay behind driver Y. These are things that define racing, not just NASCAR. You basically have a real-life point system that puts what some are saying is too strong an emphasis on winning. Just yesterday, okay, people made a case that in actual NASCAR, 2 of the 3 series champions would have been better served if they went to another driver. Yet the NASCAR game isn't even in that atmosphere. To even a casual NASCAR fan, they look at this race and they know that Gibbs is selling out for the win. The risk of running out of gas is very minimal, while the prospect of winning the race would have been season-changing. To this game, they have a teammate slam on the brakes in front of them and then have him pit on the same lap that he would have likely been passing the leader who ran out of gas. And I also want to make one final point here because the game does not allow us to see full replays. This storyline doesn't even touch championship mode. The only way that you as a user know this battle is happening is that you go back and look at it yourself. Unless you mentally know that Gibbs has not won a race in real time, or that he was racing Wallace, which because of the condensed running order, you really don't know is 3 laps down. You really don't know is 19th unless you're around him on track and it gets displayed to you. This would completely be an oversight by the user. And I will go as far as to say the Muppets that say, "Oh, I don't see these things in my game." You very likely might be right. If I hadn't paid specific attention after every race on my video to the cut line, then specifically joked that Gibbs was running second and pitted, knowing that the white flag pit logic was irrational, I would have totally overlooked all the implications this has as well. I'm going to close this video the same way I closed my stream last night. We deserve a better game. We deserve better logic in our game. We are at a very real prospect that the more people play this game, the more they see this flawed logic, and the less they want to play the game. No one wants to play a game where you're handed wins. I think some of you might. I don't. Last night I was handed a win. At one point, I was in 20th. At another point, I was a lap down. I did not have the dominant car. But because logic in this game was so bad, I was handed yet another win. AI difficulty does not matter when cars are pitting and you're running more laps. When you can go and stretch fuel and vice versa. When they can go and stretch fuel and you can't, which also happened during this race. This game is supposed to be on a biannual release, meaning it may not see another title till 2027. I don't see a lot of people playing this game in January or February of this year, much less January or February of next year. It's time to be honest with how bad this game is. And apparently, because I'm the only one able to do that, there's no way that I won't be back in the week with more commentary.